Okay, hello and welcome back to my live stream. Yes, I am streaming on Saturday, like I said I would. I originally planned to do this tomorrow, but I have other plans tomorrow, and they were originally intended for today, so here we go. I forgot that on Wednesday when I said I was, or Tuesday when I said I'd be streaming today, so I was right on Tuesday. Anyhow, we're finishing up the demo for Gilded Shadows. A city called, a planet called Arcalis. One side turns towards the sun, the other towards the moon. Well, not the moon, away from the sun. And your character is has ESP and has been kidnapped, essentially. And the various chapters are named for different chess moves. That's interesting. Yeah, so we're on chapter 3 of I don't know how many because this is my first time playing the demo. So we're all finding out together. So chapter 3. Iron and steel will bend and bow. Well, this isn't a chess move. I screamed and ducked down when the pillar exploded. Harry grabbed me and dragged me back, spinning both of us around the edge of one of the other pillars. I stood there, heart hammering back to stone, and face staring at Adam's apple, as he shielded me from a volley of what sounded like weapons fire? Sort of. We didn't actually hear a weapon, just the sound of the building being damaged around us. Even sonic weapons made noise. I couldn't understand what was happening. Maybe it's telekinesis? I don't know what ESP abilities are available, but, you did make a window break. Caleb, who had died behind some nearby rubble, pulled out a small handgun and fired back at our attacker. I thought my hands to my ears, sending up a panicked prayer. Everything spiraled completely out of control. The ground less than half a meter from me exploded, shooting a spray of stone flecks up towards my face. Boy, that's not good. At the same time, the entire building shook, just hit from outside. Instinct kicked in and my body moved on its own. I had no idea where I was intending to run. I was just going to run away as far as my brain got. That's fair. Ares stepped in front of me, placing one arm across my shoulders to pin me in place while I fended off any debris that would have struck me. It was the second time he's putting himself in harm's way to protect me. So I wouldn't have been in harm's way in the first place if not for him. Not this time around. I clenched as the building shook again. Someone outside attacking us too? But how? Why? I was too far beyond my ability to cope with or understand. I curled against Ares' chest, making myself as small as possible with hope. If he wanted to take the brunt of whatever was happening, I would let him. A loud explosion rumbled up through the floor, and several more shots struck the ground just beyond the pillar. The other fired back, though it didn't seem to do much good. Am I crazy, or is that a cyber? You're not crazy. Who even is that? What's... Ares calmly placed a hand over my mouth. Would you shut up? They didn't exactly introduce themselves before they started flinging those things at us. He stopped greeting me only long enough to fire several shots at the attacker. I shoved Ares' hand off my face. Why are you shouting at me like that's my fault? And there are two of them now. One has a sonic rifle. There appear to be more of them outside. Not sure if they're from the same faction. Yeah, I noticed that when they started trying to bring the whole damn place down on our heads. Once they get over the wall out there, we're done. Harry peered around the pillar. Those two are shooting at each other for the moment. Perhaps we should take the opportunity to flee. Sounds like a plan to me. Flee where? You teleport and we might as well send up a beacon saying who we are and where we're going. What's the point of even coming here if we do that? For a moment, it was so surreal, as if I was watching it all from the outside. Caleb and Ari were just having a conversation while Caleb exchanged weapons fire with two people, one of whom was apparently an Esper shooting with some sort of sky attack at us. Yeah, I was right. I just couldn't get my head around it. How the hell did they find us anyway? An adept team of bishops, no doubt. Are you ever going to tell me what's happening? I let out another short scream as something hit the pillar area and I were behind, sending a terrifyingly powerful vibration through my body. Ow. Never mind, not talking anymore. Ari, get her the hell out of here. I think it would be unwise to leave you alone. You cannot get the queen out of here, Vaughn. That's an order. Ooh. Queen? No way. I hope you realize you do not outrank me. Damn it, Ari, just do it. Wait a minute. His eyes changed. Oh, that's cool. Caleb suddenly darted out from his hiding place to another pillar to get a better vantage point from which to murder people, I assumed. He fired off more shots, leaving me wondering why he was using a weapon and not whatever psi abilities he had possessed. Because maybe whatever psi abilities he has wouldn't work, or not useful in this situation. Aries sighed, and I had the strangest feeling this sort of situation had played out with them many times. This was just every day for them. Would be. And I get you to a safer location while they're distracted with each other. I don't wish to attract attention, so we're going to run. Wait, what? Took my hand and with a quick look around the pillar, dragged me away from where we were to another pillar a short distance away. I ducked my head down and bit my lip to keep from screaming the entire way. Good idea. If you're trying not to draw attention to yourself, being quiet would help. Running around in a place where people were shooting at each other wasn't something I wanted to do again. From behind a new hiding spot, Aries scanned the area and just decided down a path. I had a sinking feeling we were definitely doing that again. There was a corridor on the adjacent wall. If we can make it there, we should be safe. Why not just teleport like you did before? My teleportation ability leaves a distinctive distortion trail that can be tracked. Teleporting across the room will draw attention and fire. He grabbed his arm, glaring up at him. I meant, why not teleport us out of this damn building to safety? I know you can teleport over long distances. Why not get us out of here instead of running around and hiding like this? Same reason. A longer distance means a more visible trail. We would prefer to not leave a clear signal as to who you are with, much less where we're taking you. I think that's a fair point. Taking me? Stop talking about me like I'm a thing. This is no time for a discussion. This is no time to discuss it in a committee. I am not a committee! Definitely strong Han and Leia vibes. Except maybe it was that is is more helpless than Leia. But just to punctuate that, a shot from one of the others slammed into the pillar we had just left, taking a huge chunk off. I rechecked quickly, then looked back my way. We're going. Wait! He did not wait. He grabbed my arm, and together we darted from that pillar to a pile of rubble. Harry ducked behind it and pulled me to the ground with him. As I went down, I caught a look at one of the people Caleb was fighting. A woman in black with some kind of breathing mask on her face. I blinked back out of the fractured rainbow light from above and into the shadows. Right as she winked out of sight, she looked our way. Maybe I just imagined it, but it felt like our eyes met. A shiver crawled down my spine. Ooh boy. And she was gone. Harry had seen her vanish as well. Crouched behind the debris, a frown passing over his face. A night. This isn't good. A night, which meant she could teleport like him. We weren't really safe anywhere in this realm. Not when Caleb wasn't right next to us prepared to shoot anyone who teleported to our location. Mabel, hold on to me. What? She didn't actually have time to do it. Rather, Harry grabbed me, and once again, the rope twisted and warped. And Buddy hacked it. When I started out of whatever you would call that sensation, we were right in the front of the opening Harry mentioned before. It opened into the yawning darkness. He shoved me in and taking me against the wall just beyond the doorway. But he said we weren't doing that again. The situation changed. Stay quiet. His body was tense. He was watching to see if we'd be followed. But from where I was standing, the room we left wasn't even visible from where we stood. Thankfully, the night appears to be preoccupied with Caleb and the other one for now. It doesn't appear that anyone is heading this way, though I can't be certain they aren't aware of which direction we went. The building shuddered again, sending a shower of dirt on us from above. Harry planted his arms on either side of me, and they abutted slightly with what I could only assume was psi energy. I managed to block most of the debris. Seconds later, Harry was pulling me further from the light and into the darkened corridor. I glanced behind worriedly. I don't believe Caleb will hold out long alone. I bit back the sarcastic response to that, because, as angry as I was, I didn't really want Caleb to get hurt, or anyone. I hope no one got hurt. It was a stupid, childish hope that had absolutely no place here, though. We don't know how many are outside, either. A knight that can use cyberpunk that strong is unusual. He seems to be talking to himself more than me. I hesitated to look up at him. What's a cyberpunk? A psychic attack. You cannot be hit by one, man. Mabel. Besides the physical damage, they can severely disrupt the neural pathways of people who don't know how to block them. Does Caleb know how to block them? Caleb is a rook. His ability to physically enhance his body gives him a measure of resistance to this type of attack. It figures that they're both psychic abilities. Measure it. That didn't sound very frank. Harry stopped walking and set his hands on my shoulders, leaning down to look earnestly into my eyes. Mabel, you must hide. What? She and the others are targeting you. We had hoped to retrieve you before the other factions found you or moved in. We underestimated them. What does that even mean? Listen to me. I am unsure who's outside at the moment, but someone's interfering with our connection to the net. We're trying to call for backup, but I cannot connect. For now, I need to retrieve Caleb. In the worst case, I'll get the three of us to safety. It's better for them to know who we are than for you to fall into their hands. Find a safe place to hide until we come for you. Turned away, but I grabbed his sleeve. You're wrong. All of you. You're wrong about me. You are the one who is wrong. Then tell me who you are. We'll explain everything soon. You have my word. Be safe, Mabel. With that, the space in front of me distorted slightly, and he vanished. I sagged against the wall, unsure if I should be relieved or terrified now that I was alone. For the sound of it, fighting was intensifying on all sides. I didn't know what to do. Whether it was because we didn't go far, or because I had already done it once to effect, the second jump hadn't been as bad as the first. It felt shaky, but that was more from being shot at than teleporting again. I was glad for a few seconds to stop and collect my thoughts. Where do I go now? I didn't want to hide only to be caught by Ari and Caleb later on. Just because the other people searching for me were also terrifying didn't mean I would choose to go with them quietly. I snatched my jaw and continued down the corridor the way Ari and I had been going. There was very little light filtering in, and it was creepy as hell. I wouldn't have had a chance like this again. While they were occupied, I had to get as far away as I could. I couldn't afford to be cautious now. I I could make it outside, I could figure out how to get away from it all. I would get home again, somehow. Broken glass crunched under my feet as I walked, but the sounds of fighting faded a bit as I went deeper into the building. I wasn't sure where I was going. My father had worked in places like this, though. Based on having been in a few similar buildings, I figured I would find emergency exits at the far end of this main hallway. There might be some in the rooms I passed, but I didn't want to corner myself along those, just in case. In the meantime, my mind was swirling with questions and uncomfortable theories. Caleb had mentioned a queen, or rather, he clearly called me that. Yeah. A queen, huh? But they somehow thought I was a queen like Reagan's Esper might explain their actions. Somewhat. Espers were rare, less than 2% of the population. And of those, even fewer hit the upper ranks of the EGA scale. Queens and kings were the two rarest ability types. Less than 1% of Espers held those ranks. Far less. But I had never once demonstrated telekinesis on the level of something like a queen rank. Based on the skills I'd exhibited, I'd always assumed I was on the lowest rank. I've been thinking I was a queen. What would cause them to assume that? The window thing? That could be it. Shattering a window was basic telekinesis, something even a pseudo-Esper might be able to do if they were panicked. Besides, Ari had already been nearby when that happened. Coincidence? Had they already been watching me? Had that whole incident been planned? A way to test my abilities or something? That still didn't really answer why. And if it had been a test, breaking a window should have failed me right away. It was hardly an impressive feat of size. But somehow, if Ari was to be believed, several factions had honed in on me as a potential queen. What factions, anyway? Endgame was the one usually sweeping up stray Espers. I couldn't imagine them shooting at people, though. I mean, they were essentially a vast army of high-ranking Espers. Could Ari and Caleb be from Endgame? Why not just say so? So I suppose I probably wouldn't have believed them if they claimed it. Look, I don't know. How could I come up with any solid answers based on the limited information I had? I couldn't. So for now, getting away from this madness was my priority. With knights who could pop in and out of the shadows, or wormholes, and who even knows what other abilities, I wouldn't feel safe until I was sitting somewhere none of them would find me. Even then, maybe not. They literally kidnapped me off the street in broad daylight and no one noticed. What could you do to fight against something like that? And Ari had mentioned some kind of interference with the net. I even tried to call for help since we arrived. Too much happened all at once. But sure enough, when I went to pull up my interface and connect to the safety department, there was nothing. One of the factions out there had enough guts to put up some kind of widespread interference with the nano system. That was insane. It wasn't like just anyone could do that. Endgame, Crimson, groups of that caliber, sure. Or the government. Ugh. I was in so deep over my head, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to claw my way back out. There was a lump of panic growing in my throat, but I tried to swallow it down. I could not go to pieces. I absolutely could not. Focus on one thing at a time. Trying to think about everything at once would get me nowhere. I locked my eyes on the cluttered ground and just tried to take a careful path through the dark hall as I took slow, deep breaths. Except for the debris, the place was gutted. Offices and other rooms were empty, doors hanging open on broken hinges. The walls were scorched, and some doors twisted and burned, an ugly reminder of the escalation that led to last year's attack. Now it was under attack again, for a different reason. No scuffle of movement in a room to my left caught my attention. I froze, eyes wide, as I tried to stare into the darkness there. I immediately thought of that lady in black, slinking through the shadows the way she did. I didn't write down what I picked. I'm debating. Because I'm an idiot. They already have it uploaded to YouTube, it's just not available yet. Mm. Okay, I found that part of my last playthrough, and I picked confident, flexible, and I believe in Loche. Yeah. Okay. So the only good answer, given those traits, is be confident. This is why I write stuff down, because I forget. Pick up a woman and get ready to fight. And yeah, this does sound fun. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is based on an NPC I created for Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's one. Staggered back, 5 years shreds. I was just asking to fall in. Probably end up hurt. Besides, I was up against people who could teleport. What good would running even do? That's a fair point. But I wouldn't roll over and do nothing. Not this time. I stooped and fumbled in the dark at my feet until my fingers bumped into something hefty enough to feel like it might make a good weapon. The twisted metal pole wasn't going to do much against an Esper. I felt better with it in my hand. Backing from the open door, I pressed myself against the far wall, holding the pole, or a pipe, or whatever it was, in front of me, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I shouldn't overreact. It could just be a rodent of some sort. All things considered, it was better to be a little wary. The shuffling grew louder, and any hopes it was a rat evaporated. Those were definitely the footsteps of a person. A lumpy shape stepped up to the doorframe, but I couldn't make out many details in the dark. I was relieved it wasn't the night from before. The shape was too bulky, and they were moving oddly, sort of slow and halting. Don't come any closer! But I could only come closer and closer. My blood froze at the sound of that whisper. Ow! Whispers crawled in me like snakes to steal my soul. I can hear him strangling all the light with his eyes. His eyes are everywhere, in me, and they want to be in you. Can you be here? There's nowhere else for me to be. I have no other place anymore. The figure stepped into a patch of light that filtered in from somewhere, and oh my goodness, that's creepy. And a strangled breath caught in my throat. It's exactly what I thought it was. The man from the alley, the one who had attacked me. But he was different somehow, changed. Never looked all that healthy, but now his skin had gone ghostly white, drained of all color. There was a strange blue light that shone from his eyes. I did wonder if it was the same guy. I just had this suspicion that it was that guy from the alley. I didn't understand what I was seeing. What could change someone like that? Rex didn't do that to you. Nothing should be able to do that to you. I know you. Yes, we met before. I seem to linger on the twisted pipe in my hands. I should keep that tape open. No, we're not going to drop it. Keep holding on to it. I tightened my grip on it, unsure what he would do next. They know you. He found you because of me. Or he found me because of you. He found us all the same. And now we're going to fall into the ice and disappear. What? You could have saved me. Why didn't you save me? Oh, Jesus. He cut me off as his voice rose to a shriek. He rushed at me, mouth twisted open, eyes wide and gleaming in the faint light. I let out a very brief scream and swung the pole at him. It wasn't like I didn't know how to defend myself a little. My brother worked for the safety department. He had done the self-defense things with me before. And wouldn't you know it, this OC has an older brother, and then this is exactly the sort of thing he would do. But that was different from actually fighting with someone that wanted to hurt you. Even so, I wasn't letting him grab me again. The man dodged my first hit, but not the second. I connected solidly with him, and he went down. Okay, I would take that. I took off running, determined to get away. But unfortunately, he wasn't an ordinary attacker. He was an Esper, and a strange one at that. He was up and after me in seconds, and he was faster than I was. Something hit me square in the back, sending me sprawling. My weapon went flying. I tried to scramble away from him, ignoring the biting pain in my hands and knees. An explosion of pain screamed its way through my neck and scalp. It had me by the hair. I jerked backwards, twisting and clawing at his hand. My nails dug into his flesh, and suddenly I was staggering forward as he let go. I couldn't catch myself this time, and I went down hard under the ruthless pull of gravity and inertia. Yep. The side of my face smacked the floor, and everything went black. Somewhere in the back of my head, I knew I tasted blood. I wasn't quite awake, but I could hear his raspy whispering. That's what pulled me back into the world of waking. I wasn't sure how long I'd been out. 5 seconds? 10? He had me by the ankles, dragging me down the hallway. I hissed and arched my back as my short dragged upwards. Bits of stone and glass scraped across my skin, cutting into the flesh. If I hadn't been awake before, I was now. Mostly. My mind was foggy. The only thing clear at that moment was the pain. I had to get away. I somehow found the energy to snap out a savage kick at the hand gripping my ankle, twisting my body to find something to grab onto. My fingertips were bruised and cut by the ragged floor. One nail caught and ripped away. Oh, ow. I screamed in pain and let the frustration fuel my assault. I drove my heel into the man's hand, and he finally released me. I forced myself to stand despite my body's protest. It took every ounce of willpower to not immediately black out. I didn't think I could run, but I was going to try. The man, muttering to himself, gave me a baleful glare, and I knew he was about to lunge at me again. Through my hazy vision, I saw it coming. This time, I moved toward him at the same instant, lifting a knee to drive it straight into his gut. I didn't expect it and doubled over with a pained grunt. I shoved him to the ground and started running. For the first time in my life, I tried to find whatever spy might lurk somewhere in me. I looked behind me, flung a hand out, and hoped for something, anything, for a door to fly off the hinges and hit him, for a wall to crumble and block the way. Instead, there was a pulse of energy that shot away from me and toward him. A side blast. I struck him just as he was getting up again, and he hit the floor screaming. I squeezed my eyes shut and kept soaring this time, fleeing back the direction I'd come as fast as I could go. I hadn't actually gotten very far into the corridor, as far as I thought I had anyways. I reached the opening that led to the main atrium in what seemed like almost no time at all. The silence out there was unnerving. I hadn't realized as I ran, but as I paused near the door with one hand resting on the wall to catch my breath, the sounds of fighting had stopped. What was I even doing back here? I was supposed to be getting away. But with that man back there, it felt like I was hemmed in by enemies. Not sure if I was being pursued or what I should do, I peered carefully into the atrium. My eyes went wide. There were bodies. Not just one or two. The only thing that people from outside had gotten inside at some point. They were strewn about, and I didn't know if they were unconscious or dead. One of them was familiar. Caleb. He was alive, moving and struggling to sit up. The woman in black was just in front of him, her foot connected with his jaw, sending him slumping back to the floor. I let out an involuntary cry, and her head whipped around to me as I clapped my hands to my mouth. Too late, she definitely spotted me. She held a hand out, and I knew what was coming. The air in front of me roped as I saw something release from her palm. And Ari was there, looking like he was barely standing as he held his arms up to block with one of his shields, but I could only assume was the Cyber's. Why did you return? Someone attacked me. He looked back and reached out with one hand, then crumpled to the ground, and the woman was right behind him. I backed away, heart drumming against my ribs like it was ready to jump out of my chest. No. She simply kicked Aries' unconscious form to the side like he was nothing as she came toward me. I didn't want this. I didn't want any of this. I wanted to go home. I wanted my normal life. The woman reached for me. I covered my head, ducking lower as if I could shield myself from her. Don't touch me! I screamed the word out, and from somewhere deep inside, that scream just built, and it ripped its way out of me with enough force I felt as though it was ripping my throat open. It was like my own voice echoed inside my head over and over. There was a rumble and shattering glass. Steel bent, broke. Rubble was falling. Everything was falling. And then reality twisted. Cold air hit me, and I was running. Dun dun dun! I knew there'd be more. Like, are we playing the entire common route? Because that's a lot. Let's see. Sleep. I want to check something. No, that's not what I wanted. Please. Let's see. No, that's not what I'm looking for. I used it before. Extras. Nope, that's gallery. Profile. Okay. Well, at least this one. This helps you remember what you picked before. Okay. So it looks like. Okay. So it looks like you get the entire common route, and then when you choose which way you're going, that's when it stops. So almost there. Let me pause here real quick. The board is set. It was dark. My net connection was still scrambled from whatever they had done it earlier, so I had no way of knowing where I was, what time it was, or anything. I did know that there was a rain event planned for this area, given it had started raining on me at some point. That's about so far my knowledge extended. It was cold and miserable, but I'd been running in a disoriented haze before the first drops of water hit me. The shower helped wash some of that away, but only some of it. The silver fog draped over my mind, and it just wouldn't leave. So I ran and ran. My feet splashed through countless puddles. I went through dozens of unfamiliar streets, alleys. Somewhere along the way, I realized my shoes were gone. My toes were freezing, and stinging pain shot up into my calves each time my heels slammed into the ground. It wasn't until much later that it occurred to me to wonder why I was barefoot, though. Even then, I could only assume I must have lost them when I got out of that building from before. I spent what felt like hours alternating between running down deserted streets and cowering in doorways to catch my breath as I shivered in the rain. Wherever I was, I couldn't have been far from the building where I'd been before. Everything was abandoned, as it had been since the evacuation after the attack last year. There might have been people squatting in the empty buildings. In fact, there would be more spreads if there weren't. I didn't see or hear anyone else. No one human, anyway. At some point through the haze, I felt something beyond the frantic need to get home. A deep, frightening certainty I was being followed. It wasn't the sort of paranoia you could ignore, but a feeling so powerful and broad it took hold of me and wouldn't let go. It spurred me to run faster, keep pushing myself until I thought I'd collapse. I'd been crouching behind a garbage receptacle, resting when I first got out of it. I only thought for a second before it vanished again. It showed me it definitely had a stealth function of some kind. I had crouched there for what seemed like forever, too paralyzed with fear to chance moving. But eventually the pressing need to get home set me running again, with every sense I had on full alert in case it was still nearby. It wasn't long before I had to stop for another break and ducked into a tight corner to hide in the shadows and take a breather. My head hurt so much, throbbing in time to each rapid heartbeat. Each breath felt like a broken glass scraping its way through my mind, through my throat. My ribs, my feet, my everything. It all hurt. Exhaustion washed over me, causing my head to droop nearly to my knees. Can't sleep. All I wanted to do was curl up somewhere, but I couldn't afford to sleep in the open. I didn't know if the thing after me was programmed to restrain me or just take me out. It was small, too small to be a proper retrieval unit. But the goal might just be to incapacitate me until someone could arrive to pick me up. And there was no reason to think it was the only thing telling me, because it was the only one I'd seen so far. The main question was, who sent it? It didn't look like some two-bit criminal group that caught wind of a new queen would have access to. Ugh. The whole queen rape Esper thing. I didn't want to believe it. I hadn't believed it at first. But how else could I explain getting out of that building? Initially, I thought maybe Ari had done it, that he'd somehow teleported me to safety as the building crumbled. But I was the only one who got out. If it had been him, I wasn't sure why he wouldn't have followed me. And queen rapes could mimic the sideways of others and reproduce their abilities. I couldn't reject the possibility that I'd mimicked his skill in a panic. And there was that side blast. There were implications to that I didn't want to think about. The fact that if it was true, then even if I made it home, they wouldn't stop pursuing me. If I got protection from another group with the strength to keep everyone else away. Endgame. Right out of the soft screen. Thinking that far ahead was pointless. I just needed to worry about getting back to a populated area where I could get help. With eyes burning and ears ringing, I forced myself to my feet. If I stayed in one place, that thing would just find me, so I had to keep moving. Even if I couldn't see it with the stealth program activated, I could feel when it was near, like warning lights in my brain telling me there was a threat close by. It was too strong to be a gut instinct, and if I could accept the queen rank theory, it was best to assume I should listen to that feeling. I glanced up at the dark sky, wondering when the rain would end. It had been off and on for quite some time. That machine was tracking me by heat signals, and the cooler the environment, the more I'd stand out. I need to stick close to the walls. So I would avoid the open for a while and try to stay in the alleyways. I hope that was the right decision. When I get home, I'm going to take the hottest shower. Yeah, for real. Then bury myself in the blankets. I'm going to never leave my apartment again. Good luck. Until I get my test results. That's right, the exam. Let's get back home for that. I don't have time to worry about Espers. My mind went back to when I told Ari they were wrong about me. I wonder what happened to them. And that woman. Buried alive somewhere? The possibility made my stomach do uncomfortable flip-flops. I didn't like that thought. I paused, a hand resting against a cold wall. They probably got out, right? A little warning light in my brain went, and a deep feeling of panic and fear hit me again. Oh boy. Okay, so neutral. So get in my dice. Roll the dice. Can I affect movies? There it is. Come here. Okay. Leave the area to a safer place. Try to find a place to take shelter. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2. Try to find a place to take shelter. Blood rushed to my head as I pressed myself against the wall, looking around wildly for a place to hide. That thing was close by again. I could feel it. Frustrated tears sprang into my eyes. Why couldn't they leave me alone? I was so tired. There's a part of me that wanted, well, actually, you know what? Let's go back and save again. We can go back to that spot. That's where it was unreleased. Do you want to read his art preview? Yes. The blood rushed to my head as I pressed myself against the wall, looking around wildly for a place to hide. That thing was close by again. I could feel it. Frustrated tears sprang to my eyes. Why couldn't they leave me alone? I was tired. There's a part of me that wanted to just lay down, play dead, and let whatever was going to happen, happen. But the greater part of me refused to give up. I breathed through my nose, doing my best to mitigate any sound I might be making. It was heading this way, but that didn't mean it knew where I was. If I ran, though, there's a higher chance of it hearing or sensing movement. If I just stayed still, the nose dragged on. I heard nothing, and I saw nothing. But gradually, the feeling of impending doom getting closer began to fade. I kept my eyes closed and slowed my breathing, keeping my focus on that feeling. For just a moment, the feeling sharpened, and I got a very clear image of the machine in my mind as it moved away. Now, I slowly began to move out of my makeshift hiding spot. I couldn't continue like this. My head was on fire, my vision was blurry. I was freezing. Sorry about that. Sure, if it was the right course of action, I decided I had to find shelter and rest for a while. Just a little while. I continued on foot. I was going to pass out or get caught. I had to find shelter. I wish I could say I walked with quite determination, but in reality, I stumbled through the alley, steadying myself on the wall. What little energy I had left, I needed to reserve for if that thing came back. The buildings around me were empty and most were sealed up, but I was keeping an eye open for what I thought I could get into instead of finally running into the night. Trying to keep myself alert and aware of pursuers, I finally ducked into a tight alley between two buildings, squeezing through a partially open door and into what seemed to be an abandoned warehouse. I pressed myself against the wall just inside, letting out a silent breath, and listened carefully for a long time. There was nothing but the sound of dripping water and my own breathing. I stumbled away from the door and into the gloom, cowering down behind one of the pillars and drawing my knees to my chest. A shaky breath escaped as I buried my head in my knees. What now? I needed sleep. I was so exhausted. There was no way I could risk it here. At best, I could get out of the rain and rest my legs for a while. Though I knew I would fall asleep if I stayed in one place too long. That was what had me worried. This was no place to shelter for longer than just a little while. But where did I go from here? I wanted to get home, but it wasn't as if home was any safer. What I needed was to get someone who could help me, or just to a populated area. I bit my thumbnail, staring into the darkness. Did I do that teleport again? My head was hurting so much, and I was so tired, but I couldn't stay here. I'd never used sight intensely before. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to picture a city, a place I could find people, somewhere far from where I was, where no one would look for me. I'd have time to find help, like here or somewhere. In fairness, I had no idea what I was doing. Was this how teleportation worked? Who knew? There's a sudden scrape of metal against metal. The door! I actually opened right as an image began to take shape in my mind. A city, an alley with lights. Something shoved hard against the door as I jumped to my feet in a panic, and somehow the flash of light, searing pain in my head. It took a moment to realize that I did it. But I wasn't sure how great an idea it was. Something wet dripped to my upper lip. I touched it, and my hand came away with a smear of red. Blood nose. My vision was blurry as I staggered toward the lights. I didn't know how far I had traveled, really. So not to put me in a populated area, somewhat populated anyway. It wasn't as busy as I would have expected. I stumbled toward a wall, running into it more than leaning against it as I intended. Gripping my head, I finally allowed my legs to give out and slid to the ground. Was it a knife? Did it go far enough away? Would it find me? I didn't know. The city lights faded and merged into a cloudy haze as the headache became almost unbearable. I think I lost consciousness there, huddled against the night with the pain in my head so bad I couldn't think. When someone found me, I couldn't open my eyes to get a proper look at him. And when I did, he was just a blur. Hey, you shouldn't be here. How did you get in? I tried to scramble away from the voice and a hand prodding my shoulder. Instead, I nearly fell over, barely managing to catch myself on my wrist. Hey, what's wrong with you? Is that blood? I looked up at him, trying to make my mouth speak. Help! My arms gave out, but I didn't hit the ground. The man's arm swept under me just in time, saving me from face-planting into the pavement. He rolled me towards him, his face appearing over me with both curiosity and concern written on his features. A warm hand moved my still damp hair off my face. Why are you soaked? It hasn't rained here. I didn't have the strength to try to explain. Hey, wait, don't shut your eyes again. He was silent, and I tried to look up at him through fading vision. He kept speaking, but I couldn't make out his words. His voice bled in and out, so I could only catch snippets. You don't belong where, from, place, human. I know doctors don't. I gave up and shut my eyes. Hey! The light disappeared into the fog, and everything went black again. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's go try the other option. The area. Blood rushed to my head as I pressed myself against the wall, looking around wildly for a place to hide. That thing was close by again. I could feel it. I could just somehow replicate that teleport I'd done before. I could get out of here. I was so tired. I wanted to stop running. If I stayed where I was, it would find me. I had to draw sense where it was somehow. I knew it was coming closer. I had to make a break for it. If it heard me and gave chase, I didn't know. I'd have to deal with it then. I put my mouth shut, to quiet the ragged breath, and doing my best to quiet my steps, I turned and fled silently back the way I came. I don't know how I drummed up the energy to run, but I wouldn't be able to keep it up much longer. Tears squeezed from my eyes, both in frustration and pain. At some point, I would collapse, and when I did, it would be over. If I could just find a safe place to rest, just for a few hours. But I couldn't imagine being able to break into a building without being spotted. Part of me wanted to stand my ground, to stop running, but there was no guarantee that would get me anything but capture, or worse. There was no other goal or direction in mind. I just ran. There were no sounds of pursuit, not that I could hear anyway. I tried to go in as straight a line as I could, heading away from where I had been, and away from that thing. It didn't take long before I reached an area where the alleys broke back out into the streets. I thought breathing hard, lungs burning. Being out in the open was unwise, but my only other option was to loop back the way I came. I didn't feel that sense of danger, so I would have to chance it. I staggered out of the alley at the same time I heard the roar of an engine. Before I could retreat, light flooded the area as the vehicle crested the hill. I held up a hand, letting out a hiss as the lights temporarily blinded me. I whirled around and tried to find my way back to the alley because there's no reason for anyone else to be in this place. My knees gave out and I went sprawling, again. This time, I just couldn't get up. Even as I heard the car come to a stop behind me and someone get out. This is it. It's over. There were rapid footsteps coming toward me. I tried to lift myself up on arms that were not cooperating at all. Holy shit! You okay? Someone tried to help me back to sitting position. I let out a strangled cry, trying to push them away. Whoa, calm down. I'm not trying to hurt you. You just took a hell of a spill. You okay? I'm fine. Who are you? I managed to get myself upright again and get a look at the man trying to help me. He looked normal, if you discount the blue hair, and he was giving me what I suspected was meant to be a reassuring smile. You look pretty beat up, Butterfly. They didn't give you an easy time of it at all. I knew it. There was no way he was just a random passerby. I asked you who you are. The name's Jack Visker, and I know you probably don't trust me. I don't. Fair enough. But I hope you realize you're being pursued, and if that thing finds us, it's going to be a pain in the ass. So I'm supposed to believe you're just here to save me, right? Well, it's not like it's a lie. I won't pretend I wasn't here looking for you. I'm not going to throw you in my car and drive it into a wall like those two idiots from before. My eyes narrowed and I let out an angry hiss. How long have people been watching me? I've only been keeping an eye on you since yesterday, but I don't have nefarious purposes. Please believe me when I say I want to help you. I truly do. He stood up and offered me his hand. We need to get moving. Whether you trust me or not, you don't look like you are in any shape to keep running. What do you say? I don't have a choice, but that doesn't mean I trust you. Can I really trust you? So, she's emotional for this one. Pointed at him through blurred vision, helpless to deny that he was right. Can I really trust you? I hated how small and desperate my voice sounded. I hated having to rely on a complete stranger, one that was sure to have ulterior motives for helping. After all, he outright admitted he was here looking for me. He looked into my eyes for a long moment. I promise you I will never lie to you. I tried to scoff, but it came out as a cough. But to be fair, even if I just acknowledged that he was upfront about wanting to find me, that meant he was really trustworthy. Jack must have taken my silence as agreement. He leaned to take my hand and pull me to my feet. I groaned as pain and dizziness hit me at once and barely got up right before I collapsed against him. I'll assume that means you're going to trust me. I wouldn't go that far. I really, really wanted to be able to trust him, though. Jack helped me to his car, frowning down at me as I sank into the seat and shut my eyes. At least you're honest. Ugh, I feel terrible. You look it, too. Seems like they put you through hell. And then some. He hopped in the front and slammed the door. For one moment, that panicky sense of danger spiked, and I nearly bolted upright to figure out where that thing was. But then we were speeding away, and the feeling faded as we left the deserted sector behind. I don't know how long we drove. I had been so determined to not let my guard down, but I dozed off pretty fast. Even if I was still cold and wet, the car was warm, and Jack didn't make small talk. The hum of the power saw lulled me to sleep, broken up by dreams of gunfire and fractured rainbow light. At some point, I woke up, sort of slouched down in the seat with Jack's coat draped over me. It took a moment to realize where I was, much less remember how I got there. Still groggy, I sat up. The pain in my head had faded to a dull throb at the back of my skull. My eyes were weirdly sore for some reason. I rubbed at them as I squinted at the passing scenery in the windows. We had made it to a habitable area. You awake back there? I'll take that as a sort of. Where are we? My voice was hoarse and my words a little slurred. I felt like I had the worst hangover imaginable. I have never had a hangover, and from the descriptions of it, I never want one. Looks like we're somewhere in Aurelia? I let a soft groan. Yeah, I figured we were pretty far from home, but that was on the very edge of New Albion, practically in CERN at this point. I was going to stop somewhere soon, a late-night cafe or something. Startled to get myself awake when he said that. Why? I'd like us to be able to sit and talk for a bit, face to face. Frankly, you look like you have a pretty bad case of side fatigue. Probably would be good to get some food in you. Besides, I figure a bathroom break is in order. We have a long trip ahead of us. What's side fatigue? From overuse of psi, you have the classic symptoms. I mean, I reckon you have a headache at the size of the triad right now. Mind fog, elevated heart rate. Well, the headache is a little better. Sleep will help a bit, yeah. What if the others find us? We've been driving for 2 hours, taking a slightly roundabout way back. I'm not sure we're still being tracked at this point. Hopefully not. That didn't instill a lot of confidence. I watched buildings and lights slide past, mind sort of vaguely on what my next move would be. Where would we go from here? What would I do? Maybe this would be my chance to separate myself from Jack and strike out on my own. But even if I did, what then? I sighed again, rubbing at my sore eyes. Still can't connect to the net. Yeah, that could be because someone subjected you, I can talk, really, to a neural nanoscrambler. Could just be that your psi messed it up. That can happen when your nanosystem isn't equipped to withstand a psi burst like the one you unleashed. I've never seen one of that magnitude. For an untrained Esper to do that, you're lucky you didn't give yourself permanent brain damage. Psi burst. Jack just spotted a good place to stop as he slowed and turned into the car park of an empty cafe. Pinterest up and changed his mind and drove around the building to park in the alley behind it. My silly cat. Come on. Are you going to paw at the window? Oh, you just want to watch the birds. That's it. Watch the birds. Yeah, my goofy boy. I'm going to close the window on you. Yep. I'm sorry. Still look at them. Okay. I now read this part. I don't know what it is. Don't know what it is? Yeah. What did she ask? Cyberpunk. Okay. Don't know what it is? No, I know. I just didn't intend to release anything like that. And how did you even know about that? You weren't in that building. I tracked you there and was outside when it collapsed. I saw the distortion trail you left behind when you teleported. And, of course, as I closed the window, he wants out. Go. Goofball. He's not ready to settle down and nap. That's how I managed to find you later on. Jack hadn't hidden it from me that he'd been looking for me. It was still unnerving to hear all that. How long have you been following me around like this? Let's inside, Maybelle. I promise I'll explain everything. I really wish I hadn't picked Maybelle for her name because that's not what she goes by in Slaughter. She goes by May. He opened the door and got out, stretching the kinks out of his back. I followed suit, wincing as soon as my feet hit the ground. My knees felt less than steady, and I grabbed at the car, which wobbled uncertainly under the sudden weight. Watch out! I reached for us both. I instinctively jerked away from him, the air crackling with energy. Every light horn and an alarm, and his two-seater lit up like crazy. Ouch! I clapped my hands to my ears as Jack fiddled with the controls, desperately to shut it off. Stop it! Horrible howl! Jack let out a growl of frustration, grabbed my shoulder, squeezing just enough to get my attention. Come on, deep breath. To release this much energy, even that asshole, magnets might get a lock on this location. If he does with the bishop's voice, then they really will track us down. Now let's get a hold of yourself. Several slow, wheezing breaths as I squeezed my eyes shut and tried to not do what I was doing to set the terror out. His head relaxed with the alarm, shrieking at us the way they were. I had to pull the headphone away from my ear. Not to mention that the screaming pain in my head was back. The instruments began to die down one by one. Good job. Just keep breathing slowly and focusing on my voice. Easier said than done. I did my best until finally the noise stopped and I could open my eyes again without feeling like I would inadvertently blow something up. You okay? Feel really dizzy. I'll bet. Let's get you inside, Butterfly. Wrapped an arm around me. This time I didn't pull away, if only because I needed the extra support to stay upright. The automatic door slid open and we stepped into the warm cafe. Jack gave me a half forward and half amused glance. So I've been wondering this for a while now, but where the hell are your shoes? No idea. I think I lost them when I teleported. Lowered my voice even though no one was around. Looked like a place with an actual kitchen in the back. Whatever staff were on shift must have been back there. There weren't any other customers. Maybe we could do something about them later. I don't have any extras on me, though. Why would you bother getting around extra shoes? It's fine. It's not like I'm expecting to have my wardrobe and these things taken care of. For now, it was enough that he got me out of that place. Jack navigated us to a table. I sat and tucked my feet out of view. Jack looked around as I took the seat across from me. Lucy, I hugged his jacket close, wishing I could curl up somewhere and sleep for 10 years. What happens now? Are you going to take me home? I knew it was a long shot. Ben's been watching me all this time just to take me home after finding me. You know what? If I do that, people will only come for you again. I know. I hugged his jacket closer and shrank into my seat a little. Then, what do you want from me? Well, that's obvious, isn't it? I want you to come with me. Where? Who are you with? He seemed surprised by that phrasing, as if he hadn't expected me to have already divided people looking for me up into groups. I was going to take you to the court. The court? Dad, I lowered my voice as someone came out of the kitchen. A curious owner, perhaps. Jack waved that way and called out to him, ordering 2 coffees. I watched the older man nod and then retreat. That cult? Jack's lips curved up to a smirk. They're not a cult. I have no idea how that rumor got started, but they're just a community of Espers living together and keeping each other safe. Living together where? Delphine. It's really the only place for them. We're at home. I never heard of a single complimentary thing about them. The concept of them as an innocent community of Espers didn't feel right. So you're with them? It's not completely correct to say I'm with them. It's not like it's an organization. It's just a group of people trying to keep from being noticed. Except that he wouldn't lie to me, but I didn't know if I could believe that. If that's the case, then how did you find out about me? There's a man back at the court who's adept at sensing other Espers. He became aware of you a few days ago, and he just sent you to get me out of the kindness of his heart. You knew that other people would seek you out. Endgame, Nora, the host. Nora? That mafia group in Delphine? They're pretty well known for their experiments on Espers. Human experimentation is banned, including when it comes to Esper genome research, because the mafia has a great deal of respect for the law, right? That's horrible. I know this may come as a shock to you, but even your own government doesn't respect those kinds of bans. There are more than a few rumors about the work the Triad is doing in that regard as well. Those people looking for you do not have your best interests at heart, I guarantee that. But you and the court do? Why? Because we're the same. The court is made up of people sick of being a part of this chess game between the government and everyone else. They just want to live, freely. I studied him wordlessly. I was nowhere near adept enough with any sort of spy ability to peek inside his mind to see anything more than he wanted to reveal, assuming that was the thing Espers could do. Look, I arrived in Soulless yesterday and spent a lot of time trying to track you down. I want to approach you, reach out, try to explain the situation, and prevent everything that happened today. If we could sit down and talk about it, we could work something out. Trust me, I wasn't planning for you to be grabbed off the street by someone else. Do you know who they were? I know this will be a little tough to believe, but they were from Endgame. Endgame, huh? Is that really true? You don't seem surprised to hear that. I've considered the possibility. I just don't understand why they kidnapped me. First of all, if someone from the court will sit down and talk, why would Endgame yank me off the sidewalk and shove me in a car? They're supposed to protect people. They're basically law enforcement. More like they're just above the law entirely. When it comes to Endgame, I can promise you they're not what people think they are. And there's a lot of things that go on behind closed doors. And in dark alleys, abandoned districts, and sometimes right out in the open. The queen ride to Esper is rare. I probably weren't quite counting on as many groups to know about you. Acquiring a new queen in secret would be a pretty significant trump card. You're saying being manhandled me, terrified me, and risked my life for a trump card? That's how things on this set work. You want to stay on top, you need trump cards to do it. But isn't that because they're always trying to keep groups like Crimson and Noir at bay, without stepping on the government's toes? And maybe even the court too. Just because I haven't heard of you people doing anything horrible doesn't mean you don't. So you're fine with how they handled this? Of course not. I didn't know. My hands was hurting too much to make judgment calls about this right now. I know it's a lot to take in. You'll have to forgive me. Endgame may be heroes to people on this side of the world. Where I'm from, they're just part of the problem. When the government is corrupt, maybe it needs its toes stepped on a little. I my fingertips against the bridge of my nose, squeezing my eyes shut. I didn't know what to believe about any of this. Even if Jack was saying the truth, that didn't mean going with him was the best option. Endgame was still Endgame, and the court was still some weird group off in another country. And if I said I didn't want to go with Jack, would he even let me go? I had no idea. Look, I'm going to step away for a few minutes, go to the restroom. Our coffee should be out soon. The student shot me a think grin as he started away. The card requires voice authentication to unlock, so I didn't even think about trying to steal it. I saw him scowl as he left me at the table and disappeared through a door on the other side of the restaurant. I laid my head on the table and shut my eyes. What was I supposed to do now? How was I supposed to plan my next move? My head was hurting too much to think about it clearly. I just didn't know if I could trust Jack. One bit about the court was both confusing and worrying. He didn't have a good reputation, no matter what he said. It's true that Sisolis may not get the entire story when it comes to news out of Delphi, but I heard nothing good about the court. I couldn't imagine myself becoming part of that group. Besides, I thought that guy from yesterday, from earlier today, was with them. And that made me worry about it even more. Jack seemed level-headed, but could I really trust that he wasn't lying to me? As far as I knew, he wasn't from the court at all. He could be with any group. It would be stupid to believe him just because he'd helped me one time. On the other hand, he'd said Caleb and Ari were from Endgame, and I couldn't come up with a single reason to lie about that. Well, maybe to make Endgame look bad, so I wouldn't try to go to them. What they'd done seemed unconscionable, but maybe they had a reason. Maybe it was to protect me from people like Jack. Endgame was a group I knew and could trust. Whatever else was true about them, they helped people. Jack was surely right when he implied there was more to them than what the public knew. I struggled to believe they were secretly evil. Probably. Oh boy, this actually reminds me of When the Night Comes, the thing about the enforcers, especially Harry. Which makes me leery of trusting Endgame, actually. At any rate, they had an army of Espers. It wasn't like they couldn't take over if they wanted to, but they strove hard for neutrality. I let out a frustrated groan. I didn't even know where Ari and Caleb were. Slow tingle started in my feet and made its way up my legs. At first I thought it was just because it was finally warming up. But no, my heart started pounding and there was a sudden intense feeling of something approaching. I whirled around, standing up so fast I overturned my chair. But of course, there was nothing. This was similar to what had been happening in the abandoned district, but somehow different. There was no real feeling of being threatened, just of something getting closer. In my mind, I saw a flash of Ari, here, in this cafe, looking down at me. And then it was over. The feeling was gone, and I started trying to figure out what exactly that had been. Premonition? Or my throbbing head again. It felt like a dam had burst open inside me. I never used to be able to do this kind of thing. Does this mean those two would find us soon? That was true. What should I do? Okay. Save again because I have a feeling this is going to have a big impact. I'm actually inclined to trust Jack more than Ari or Caleb, especially Caleb. Caleb's been kind of a dick. So let's find Jack. Like the Crimson character read. Yes. If I didn't warn Jack, Endgame would find us. I'd be recruited and he would probably be captured, I guess. I went with him. Felt like there might be some glimmer of hope that I could somehow return home. Someday, anyway. It wasn't a huge glimmer. It was there. At the very least, I might be able to start a new life in Delphi, one that didn't involve recruitment into a paramilitary organization as a high-ranked Esper. Even my phone sure where it was, I headed toward the place Jack had vanished to. My heart was in my throat and my entire body was shaking. I was desperately trying to ignore the feeling that this was a terrible decision. I couldn't second-guess myself. In the end, I didn't know what lay ahead of me on either path, but this one felt right. Jack came out of the restroom right as I was about to brace myself and head in. He nearly ran into me. He caught me by the shoulders, so I'll see me right there. I have to leave, now. Why? Caleb and Ari are coming here. I don't know when they'll arrive. How do you know? I don't know. I saw it? I feel it? I understand. I gave the cafe a careful look around and wrapped an arm around my shoulders. You'll have to be careful. They haven't located you yet, or they'd already be here. We don't know how much time we have. That's it? You're not questioning it? He gave me a wry grin as he led me carefully to a nearby exit at the back of the building. Nope. For an untrained Esper like you, a premonition like that means you're probably getting a peek at the most likely future trajectory, not some random low chance. possibility. I was right, it was a premonition. But, I mean, this game is all about GSP and stuff, and premonitions are one of the big ones. I reckon we have a limited window. We're shifting onto a different future path. No time for questioning it. Their top bishops are pretty adept, but they might be having difficulty reading your movements for now. One of them definitely has better skills with reading the futures of people she knows, so that's to our advantage. I had a big idea of what he was talking about, but I said nothing as he pulled the weapon from the holster at his lower back, when I hadn't even realized he had. With one arm in front of me, he pushed the door open before pulling me outside into the alley. He ushered me along to where I assumed his vehicle was. Everything was all turned around in my head, so I had no idea where we actually were at this point. That's the same. I get the same way. I get turned around real easy. One sec again. Yeah, I have trouble remembering where things are too. I'm very lucky in video games to give you a map to check. I just caution, trying not to stumble on anything. Why do you carry a gun? Aren't you some kind of Esper? Let's use biokinesis to enhance our physical capabilities. It's not great for dealing with enemies at a distance. At the corner of the building, Jack paused again, carefully looking around the corner to check for anyone lurking out there, I guess. With a small device up to his lips, whispered into it. Unlock. Mabel, the car's not far away. We're going to run. You up for it? Let's go. Grabbed my arm and pulled as he broke into a run towards the car. Stumbled after him, just trying to keep up. I heard the slow whine of a weapon a split second before it discharged. I hit the ground less than half a meter from my feet. And then we were at the car. Jack was throwing the door open and shoving me inside. I have text messages there. There were more shots. Jack let out a grunt and staggered forward into the car, slamming the door shut. Something hit the side, shaking the entire vehicle. But it didn't stop Jack from starting it and slamming his foot on the accelerator. Hold on! It's wet! The entire car shook as Jack sped over a curb and veered into the narrow alley we'd just come from. Who was that? Well, if I know, not Endgame. They'd never try to snipe us like that. Why aren't these people finding us? We're all psychics, Mabel, so bishops have a pretty wide range. At this point, we're just like an army of people having descended on this place. Third, the lack of pursuit before meant you were emitting a reverse cage. Green ranks are known to do that, sort of an involuntary defense mechanism. I made another wild turn, and I was just glad there wasn't much room to be thrown around in the back seat. I don't know what that means. It means you're invisible to them, essentially, at least some of them. Even if a precog is looking into your future, a strong enough reverse cage would still block you out of their sight. Then how'd the sniper find us? Could have tracked me instead of you. Endgame doesn't know you're with me, so they wouldn't be tracking my movements. Not true for whoever was stalking you back in that abandoned sector. Great. I have a feeling they'll keep pursuing us until we reach that the rabbit hole. I have friends there who'll help us out. Rabbit hole? It's a unauthorized entry point from Delphine into CERN, or the other way around. CERN, as you may know, has a few small unused domes just off their main dome complex, mostly sealed off from public access. Let me guess, you have friends who can get us in. Yeah, and there's a particular tunnel that's a straight shot to Scythia under the Ouroboros Sea. And Endgame just lets you go back and forth? Endgame doesn't know about every single thing happening on this planet, Butterfly. We're still mere mortals like the rest of us. As long as we get there soon, I think we'll be fine. I'd rather take a nap. Right here. I deserve it. My head was pounding again. My ears are hot. Is that normal for night fatigue? I think you're going to be fine. I'd like to reassure you by insisting the rest of you is just as fine. It's probably not the time. Definitely not. I was silent a minute. Is it going to be like this forever, people coming after me? I doubt it. Once you're affiliated with someone else, people are less likely to pick a fight with an entire group of people just to get the new queen on their side. Right now, you're just an easy target. That's not comforting. Sorry about that. We were silent a while as Jack veered in and out of tight alleyways. But it wasn't long before he hit a long open highway. He floored it, and I just shut my eyes and tried not to think about how fast we were going. Hey, Mabel, why did you tell me about Caleb and Ari? Why are you so shocked? Weren't you trying to convince me to go with you? Well, yeah, I just kind of thought it was going to take a little more convincing. I guess I thought I had the best chance of finding some semblance of normalcy again if I was with you. It's obvious that everything has taken a turn, and I won't be able to go back to how things were. When it comes to finding a way forward, that at least somewhat aligns with what I've always wanted, I guess I thought I had the best chance if I took this path. Jack just laughed softly. That's a logical approach, I guess. People always choose the path that seems easiest. That's all. I don't want to join Endgame. I've never wanted that. I guess that makes sense. How long until we reach this rabbit hole? Not long. Just brace yourself. It may get a little rocky from here on out. Well, that's basically how this day has gone, so I guess I'm ready for it. Glad to hear it. We continued down the long freeway, and I just hoped beyond hope that I'd made the right choice. Okay, Crimson Interlude. I guess staying and waiting for Ari and Caleb would lead to the endgame one. The ride was long, especially for someone exhausted and hurting all over. The headache settled happily at the base of my skull, a throbbing pain that spread around the sides of my head and down into my neck. But despite the pain, what Jack had said about the reverse cage thing made me afraid to sleep. If I was somehow doing something to hide our presence, would sleeping disrupt it? I had no idea. So I held in the backseat, watching the scenery blur past us, and tried to stay awake for as long as I could. After a while, everything dimmed to a haze. I didn't even know how long Jack drove. Hours, days. If we were heading to the right side, there were miles of tunnels that wormed under the waste in the sea. Regardless of whether we were in an illicit one, the distance was the same. I drifted off eventually. Jack certainly had to put the car on an auto and sleep for a while. We had stopped several times. There were dim recollections of waypoints, Jack helping me in and out of his car. At some point, I was certain there were other people around. I didn't know who. My mind was so clouded I was barely aware of what was going on. At one point, I woke up in a panic, my mind clear enough to realize I wasn't at home. Seconds later, I remembered it all. For a long time, I sat there with my heart painfully hammering in my chest, head still throbbing. Jack didn't seem to notice me, and I sunk down in the seat again. The tunnel seemed endless. We sped along, and the monotonous hum of the car eventually lulled me back to sleep. Or at least somewhat asleep. At least whatever else was true, I was still safe. When I woke up again, the thong in my head returned. The throbbing was ever present. Sour taste settled impotently in my mouth. keeping company with the nausea swirling in my stomach. Jack's vehicle had come to a stop. I startled to sit up with the soft sound of rain in my ears. Down the windows was a dark and unfamiliar place. We made it. We'd really made it all the way to Delphi. There was relief, but also a strange hopelessness. But things as they were, could I even go back now? Ever? I rubbed at my face, trying to work out what was going on outside. With the door open only a crack, the voices were muffled, and the bodies reduced to dim shapes. I peered out to find Jack and 3 other men. 2 were in suits, and the other seemed familiar, but I couldn't place where I recognized him from. Based on how the 4 of them interacted, I got the feeling it was this guy that was in charge, not Jack. Unsure what was happening, I stumbled out of the car. Not a very graceful attempt. I wasn't feeling particularly graceful at the moment, either. Just didn't want to stay in the car where I couldn't hear them. The shorter man with dark hair looked my way. His blue eyes were cold and unimpressed as he regarded me. Granted, I was in a sorry state, but still. Rude. Jack shifted, positioning himself between us. Kaisa, what's going on here? Where are we right now? Just hang on a second. Think you can wait over there quietly for a moment, Butterfly? We're just working out some details on where to go next. I don't appreciate being told to stand over here and be quiet. I did my best to straighten and glare at him, despite how horrible I felt. You have no right to talk to me that way. Frankly, they were all a little blurry, and I wasn't sure I was even glaring at the right person. I was aiming my scalp, blue switch. I suspected this jaw was Jack's head. That's not what I meant, Butterfly. I just thought, I have been to hell and back in a day. I don't have to bloody well be quiet. Mabel, if you don't calm down, we're going to get a repeat of that incident with the car earlier. And you will fall over if you use any more aside today, intentionally or not. So that's enough. I think you've updated me on everything as it is, Jack. Drawing this out further is pointless. As you can see, she's had a rough time. I was hoping to meet up with you before we got back here. We didn't have much time for a rendezvous. Nor did we. After a brief silence, Kaisa turns to one of the 2 sheets. There's a blanket in the truck. Please retrieve it from the Slimer. The man nodded and obeyed. I watched him whirling into it, first to the car, then approached me, but all he did was hand me the blanket as he was told. Not a word from him, not a smile. I hesitated, then took the blanket from him and wrapped myself into it. I understand the situation in full now. I still believe we should take her to the mansion. I hear you on that one, Kai. I'd rather have her go with me to quarters. She clearly needs medical attention. She can get that there. The court has the entire place locked behind a reverse cage. No one will find her. We can set one of those up at the mansion easily. I won't have the court stormed by anyone trying to find her, including my father. His father? Even he's not that daring, Kaisa. I wasn't sure if I should speak up. I didn't know that I understood enough about the situation to make any kind of decision. At the same time, Jack I knew, sort of. The court I'd heard of. This mansion was an unknown. But going to the court meant hiding out and trying to remain unseen. The mansion felt like I'd be, more connected to things, maybe even in a position to call for help. I couldn't say that for sure. What should I do? I know I'm saying a lot, but it's just, these are really interesting choices. I would want to stick with Jack. I want to go with Jack. They both stopped and looked my way. I lowered my eyes, trying to organize my thoughts into something coherent. I don't know what your plans were, either of you, but my plan was to go to the court with Jack, and that's what I want to do. That's the only thing from today that feels like it wasn't a lie. Kaisa frowned. I could see his jaw working as he studied me. He finally let out a soft sigh. I'll have to come up with something to tell my father. We could tell him she needs time to recover and that we felt it was best to keep her in a secure place where she could lie low for a while. We don't want to risk this situation blowing up bigger than it already is. So if we could keep Endgame from knowing her exact whereabouts for a while, that'll be best. I'm not sure if I will placate him, but I will do my best. He looked my way again, his eyes startlingly cold. You've put us through quite a lot of trouble, Miss Whitmer. I hope you recover well, so it's worth it. I intend to recover, but not because I care about the trouble you went to. I didn't ask for your involvement. He gave me a frigid smile. No, but there's a good chance you'd be much worse off without it. Kaisa nodded curtly to the 2 suits and returned to his car. Jack moved to my side, and I sagged against him, closing my eyes. Let's get you back into the car. Who were those people? I'll explain when we get where we're going. You're still in pretty bad shape. The rest would only drive here, but at best it kept the side fatigue from getting worse. Didn't do much for helping you recover. I looked back as the others drove off. I hope we get there quickly, because it seems like there are a lot of things you haven't told me. Butterfly, there's no way I could tell you all the details about the situation in the limited time we've had. You'll hear the rest of it soon enough. Got a point, I suppose, so I settled back into my seat with a groan, wanting this stupid trip to be over. I wanted a bed. Sleep. As the door shut and we drove off, I couldn't help but wonder where exactly I was going to end up, and what I'd learned when we got there. Oh boy. Oh my gosh, so much. So much. Damn it. Kind of want to see what the end game thing is. But, you know what? I'll do that off stream. Because it's been an hour and a half and my sibling is trying to sleep. So I don't want to, and they're on the other side of the wall from me. So look, there's Caleb, there's Ari, and I don't remember seeing either of these people. I think this is Ko. Kesa, Jack. I don't remember seeing some of these other people. That's what more playthroughs are for. And so given how much they've intrigued me, I will probably end up buying the game eventually and continuing a playthrough. I may start over and maybe pick different options, but we'll see. But thank you for watching this. I will have a link to buy the game on itch and Steam in the description on YouTube. If you like these watching these playthroughs, please like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And just have a good day. And I am going to continue playing Arcane Sponsors. It's really good, and I've been watching a friend stream it, and she hasn't played through the whole thing like I have, so it's been fun getting to see her reactions to some of the really cool plot development. So for now, I will sign off and hope that you have a good rest of the day. Bye.